You mentioned like dropping the 2. That's also a topic people talk about often. Do you think they would do that? And because my thing is that I always feel like it. Obviously, the Destiny 1 is called Destiny. So would that cause an issue, or maybe there's some copyright things with Activision, like some trademark issues of having another game named after a game that already exists? Do you think that'll be an issue?
I don't think it will, and the reason I say that is because of the way that Bungie controls the copyright and trademark. At very least, they luckily own all of that.
Yeah,
for
they
Destiny.
own it all. Yeah.
So, like, luckily, Activision doesn't have any kind of stake in that, and D1's existence doesn't, at least in that sense, doesn't hinder it. What I think they'll probably end up doing is they'll try and make something that's a more complete package for Destiny, and at that point, then, as along with some kind of major update, I think they will sit there and then they may consider dropping it. Because at a certain point, you either need to make a sequel, or you need to accept that your game is a continuous flow and that the state of it will always be changing and always be rebalancing, and therefore you need to update it. And it doesn't make sense to have the 2 there. And all things considered, let's be brutally honest, whilst it is a marketing thing, it is also at this point just slightly cosmetic as well. It's one of those moments of like, hey, if you have a great game and a great product out there, people will come and play it. But I do feel as though that kind of big restart is going to be important at a certain point in time, particularly because Bungie has always struggled with new players, and dropping the 2 is a sign that new players will absolutely have a smooth onboarding process, which is why I feel like they want to round out the Light and Dark saga first. They want to make way for a big, different kind of story that they're making and add that introductory chapter to it and then drop the 2. That's what I think would happen. But again, I'm not a game dev. I'm just sitting there and talking about what I feel might be the case.
Yeah, disclaimer, we are not game devs. We are backseat content creators that talk about stuff. We know a fair amount, but we are definitely not we are not game devs. I feel like
so why didn't you click the make multiplayer button? That one always troubled me, Why couldn't you just make it multiplayer? And why couldn't you click the make graphics better button too? That's always troubling.
It's just simple. Like, I don't know why they just don't do it. It's just like it just seems obvious.
Oh yeah, if you want to update the port from PC to PS5, just change it from .exe to .ps5.
Yeah, you hit Control A and you just drag over to PC, and you just just change .ps4 to .pc, and then you got a PC port, and then you
exactly perfect.
It's that simple, basically. I think to be honest, in essence, I feel like it already is basically Destiny, instead of like even calling it Destiny 2. Sometimes it kind of seems a bit, even like titling videos, it doesn't really seem like Destiny 2. Destiny 2 seems like the game that came out in 2017, and I've made plenty of videos talking about like just how much the game has transformed, and kind of bit by bit, expansion by expansion, they've taken, obviously sunset and vaulted a lot of content. So the game we have now is almost unrecognizable to the game that came out in 2017. So it does feel like a different game, but every now and again you still like see it called Destiny 2, and it does seem weird. We just call it kind of Destiny. You don't really see it as Destiny 2, but it's still technically Destiny 2. Or is it New Light, or what is it called now?
I mean, they added a bunch of extra stuff in the new player experience with New Light, but even so, it's still Destiny 2, which, now that you say it, it still weirds me out sitting there. I sit there and I think about Destiny 2, and when I sit and look at it, I think to myself, okay, this is, this right here is back in the time when Gaul was still a playable campaign, and Red Legion was around, and they were the big bad. That's what I think of.
Double primaries, 10 hours kill time in PvP, triple melees, an hour to get a grenade back. Very, very different times. I think even at the end of the recent Vidoc we got, they said something that kind of alluded to their plan. They said about, I wish I could remember the exact terminology, but they alluded to keeping the Destiny universe alive and kind of doing other explorations. Do you remember exactly what they said?
No, but they've been touting that tune for a while now, is basically this thing of saying the Light and Dark saga comes to an end with final shape, but Destiny is in no way finished. It's this way of sitting there and saying like, hey, this is still a persistent game where you will have your progression, and we're still very much telling stories in this universe, but we're not finished. Which, I'm apprehensive but also excited about statements like that, because it's hard, I think, to top something that has been the only thing that players have ever known. And I mean, also the kind of epic scale of the Light and Dark saga is something that leaves things to be desired. I mean, it's if you sit there and you go from a story that literally talks about the potential origins of the universe and a fundamental battle between forces that may or may not be at their core good and evil, you're literally talking about the ultimate conflict, which will ultimately erase the importance of anything else. And then it's kind of this thing of like, okay, but there are more stories after this. And I'm sitting here and one side of me is like, cool, how do you top that? And the other side of me is, how do you top that? There's a lot of questions to be asked for certain.
I feel like the most likely scenario would be, because what happens in Final Shape, who knows? Because that just seems, I mean, Lightfall, it appears like all indications are that we're going to lose or something bad's going to happen, and something's going to happen to the Traveler / the city. It's basically the second collapse. It appears like it's not going to end well. That's what all the lore and all the trailers and everything has hinted. But then Final Shape is kind of this after state when there's also, of course, the big symbol wall in the Val raid that kind of hints at the Witness like drinking the light or destroying the Traveler or attacking it or trying to get inside it because its heart holds some kind of key. There's something that the Witness wants inside it, but who knows why? Is he trying to be freed from some other realm? Is he trying to who knows what his even actual intentions are? Of course, that's what we're going to find out. But I would imagine that Final Shape would end in kind of a, I don't know, everything is kind of resolved, how that shapes up. Who even knows? Is the Witness going to die? Can they die? Who even knows what that is? But I would imagine this whole Light and Dark saga is going to be finished and it's going to reach conclusion. And then in the years to follow, they'll probably do, I would imagine, spin-off expansions, just explore other areas of the entire Destiny universe, which is massive, maybe the Golden Age or the Dark Age or just the entire Elixir backstory or the Cabal. There's so many, as we know, there's so many different random pockets, the Awoken. There's so many places they could go.
So as far as everything is concerned on the front of how Lightfall versus Final Shape actually shapes up, pun not intended, I think that what you're looking at here, and this is the way that I've always sort of described it to people on the outside, is that if Final Shape is Avengers Endgame, this moment here right now in Lightfall is probably going to be our Infinity War. You're looking at this moment of cataclysm where heroes will band together and where, in order for that final story of a grand victory and a true defeating of evil to take place, we need to lose something first. And that's what I think is going to happen. We've seen enough, and this is a huge spoiler alert for those of you who are jumping into this and haven't started playing Lightfall yet. I know there must be at least one or two of you, but the opening cutscenes that we got little glimpses of in the vidoc and all the different trailers that we've seen, the launch trailer, which will be coming on Thursday, all of these moments show a losing battle, as best I can tell, where the Pyramid Fleet is bearing down on the Traveler, where our forces are engaging the Shadow Legion, and where, whilst we are able to beat back the Shadow Legion, we very much lose to the Pyramid Fleet. I think it's very fair to say that that is going to be something that sets the tone for the next year. I don't know what happens with the Witness and the Traveler in that extent, but it has to be something rather dramatic. I mean, we're talking Red Legion caging the Traveler levels of dramatic, but I would expect you to amp that up quite significantly. I don't think the Traveler immediately dies, because there's no way that Bungie sits there and cuts off our access to the light subclasses for a year. But I do think that we're going to be in this place where the world is not the same, and that there is a massive shift in the ground under our feet that's coming. I just don't think that we're ready to quite see it yet. As for everything afterwards, though, yeah, I totally agree with you. There's more stories to be told, whether those are, the Golden Age, whether it's Dark Age, whether it's the Cabal, whether it's the Fallen. There are a ton of different tales out there in this universe. You could, as far as I'm concerned, make an entire spin-off Netflix show about Guardians during the Great Hunt, and just literally sit there and have people take total fascination over hunting shape-shifting dragons. You know, there is so much subject matter in this game.
And I think they plan to. I mean, we've heard, obviously, they want to do TV series, comics, books. They want to expand the entire universe. And yeah, what you said about the Marvel, they're definitely got a lot of inspiration from the whole Avengers Marvel universe, building the characters, kind of this ultimate showdown. It's cool to see us, you got all the Guardians and Keitel and Mithrax and all these just allies, and then all of the enemies. You got Witness and then his disciples, and Callus obviously making his grand debut. Cool to finally see him in his all gold shiny arm. I mean, technically we had never even seen him up until that Vidoc, had we?
Yeah,
we've seen obviously lookalikes of him, but we didn't know if that was what he actually looked like.